Alright, hello guys and welcome for another daily cast. So today we will be casting uh, Bonnie that is currently in a duo with SSP and against the rising duo of FTQ and Peini. We just learned that this morning that the FTQ ranked up quite a lot while duoing with Peini, and so it will be interesting to see how they work out together. And also very good for our daily cast. Uh, and looks like the game is already started. Might have been late a little bit, so sorry you might miss wave 1. But we will be uh, able to see wave 2 without any problems. At least I do hope so. So sorry, that is just first loading time of the day. Just taking the time to do at least this cast. So wave one, oh, so wave one has just, no, wave two. Yeah, wave one has just finished and we are on wave two. Those artifacts will end once wave two starts. We do have a bounty hunter start from Peini, a pilgrim watch from long time. I did not see that start here, but can be very good in the early game, but forces you to stay at 4 workers. He did not receive on wave 1. No, he did receive on wave 1. It is SSP who is sending 20 on 1 and 20 on 2, trying to catch a bounty hunter greeting. It will leak because of that polywogs. Yes, the polywog reduces the leak that you get with bounty hunter, but you are still doing very fine. Instead of leaking 5, well, I think it's only 2. 3. It's 2 or 3, depends on the animation timing. And the sends from Peini are coming to try and scale up. Alright. So Peini, FTQ, and Bonnie going for income. On wave 3, this should be a hold from FTQ, having only good units on that wave. He does prepare a little bit more for wave 4, adding a nature defense to at least benefit the pilgrim a little bit more. With additional healing, we do see the washroom here onto the bounty hunter, exposing himself a little bit on wave 4. Does he have an answer for it? It should be a devilfish, but devilfish are not perfect because if you just send a dragon turtle in the split, then the devilfish does not do much to protect you. So we'll see how he deals with that in the next wave, but let's see on the side of SSP and Bonnie how they deal with the sand. The triple snail against the elite archer from Bonnie does seem to be effective, but should still result into a decent clear from Bonnie, if not a whole. Yeah, okay, only one leak here. Still fine. Here the pilgrim dying because the washroom is not tanking for it when you send a tank mercenary. So a small leak from FTQ. Just because the washroom is a bit too far. Normally you want to place your pilgrim on the wall so that yes, some of your wave goes onto the pilgrim, but when the late units reaches the wave, then the washroom is in front of your range unit. So a bit better if you don't use them at the same column, but still, now placing golden buckler to protect it a little bit better. Will still tank on wave 5, and that is what you want. But will it tank too much? That is a question we need to ask ourselves. So let's look at what is the answer for Peini. It is an income send from Bonnie and SSP as well. Will there be a snail addition from SSP? It will be. And doing the Seraphim on the side of the Panther is the best way to deal with what I discussed here, to just try and not kill your Seraphim and use it as a DPS unit. You could have also done a Devilfish, but opting for the damage, try to clear as much as possible and use the Bounty Hunter and the Washroom as tanks as much as possible. And it will still result into a leak, an FTQ leaking massively here, not protecting the Pilgrim enough, And that's only part of the positioning that we discussed. If it is only on the wall, one half square behind, then what he did works perfectly. But now that the pilgrim is exposed, any tank mercenary that is sent just makes it so that the pilgrim is just tanking everything. So small econ Peini, as we discussed here, that is the exact way you need to um, counter any split like DT or Fiend with a Snell while playing a Bounty Hunter and not being the best on 4. You just post either a DPS or a tank on the side of the Bounty Hunter to try and counter the Fiend or the DT on the split. But still massive damage taken because of the build of FTQ. But we do have double brutes here from FTQ going on to SSP. SSP will go into Canopy, but he does not receive imps, and so the brutes are the most effective sense here, and so could result into a leak. But since Peini is not sending with him, it will not result into king damage. So let's see here. It's all a question of, does this slow SSP down enough for Peini to do pretty well on the next wave? He will probably have the canopy on Peini's side. For FTQ, here he still has a problem with this pilgrim, so I hope he fixes it, at least for next wave. Or easy aiming for the canopy as well. He needs to protect that pilgrim for sure. So let's see how he does. We do see here the canopy only leaking the 2 brutes. This is perfectly fine for SSP, the long save, not as impactful as FTQ would have wanted, and that's partly due to the fact that he leaked massively on 4, and also the leak on 3 did not help. So Bonny able to cover, SSP able to push workers. We do have the resend from FTQ, but will not result into anything because he does have the canopy here. So even though Peini might be able to leak Bonny, it will still not result into king damage because there will be a cover in the middle by SSP. Bonny going for income here. Perfect answer here, the Cannoneer. Killing that Pilgrim as fast as possible, and FTQ still not protecting it, which is a big problem here. So we'll look here how it goes, but the Cannoneer will be attacking as well as almost all the way. Half of the way. So you just snipe the Pilgrim, not having any healing, and so you reduce the effectiveness of it, effectiveness of it. But the canopy is doing work nonetheless, and so should be still a hold from him. But he needs to protect that pilgrim for later. We do have a hold from SSP as expected, and Bonnie doing pretty well. Adding the Yuzora here, perfect for wave 6 and 7 as a tank, and 30% for the large send you receive. Totally fine, allows him to push. And also the resend here from FTQ, even if it's a 40, allows SP to push to 10 workers and take the worker lead. He is pretty strong on wave 7. He needs to be careful on 8, but Bonnie has wave 8 under control with his build. SSP getting the Mimic before income, meaning that his value should still be fine here on wave 7. He will only be 40 under if he full builds. Bonnie as well doing pretty well for himself with the Elite Archer also. With the resend here from Peini, the Trinity Archer will probably not come, and he will focus on being good on wave 9. Also pushing to 11 workers due to the send of Peini. Might be another worker due to the resend. But let's see how he deals with the Mimic. Mimic very good against what he sees here. Mimic onto the Berserker will eat up all those Polywogs and then turn into the Canopy. Canopy is pretty strong though, so we'll see how it deals with it, but a lot of pierce damage. Still not attacked by the Brute. The Brute getting sniped, now getting attacked by the Brute. And the Brute is killed, but the Mimic is still alive. And the Devilfish is not enough to hold. Here, FTQ still not protecting the Pilgrim. And so, yes, he has the canopy in the middle, but that Mimic will just chew up on it. And so will be some king damage yet again. Bonny, after that, Sen and that leak from Peini decides to push 2 more workers, getting to 13. But he needs to be careful. Wave 9 is an issue. But the Peini decides to go for wave 8 here with the Hermit. Expecting Bonny to build for wave 9 and not for wave 8. So trying for an undercut here. But Bonny sending out 8 as well, so he will be on value on that wave. Very close to only 35 under. And APS, so building for here and not for wave 9. I mean, APS is something you want to do in the end, and still is a fortified tank. And pushing to 14 workers even. Like, not scared one bit of the possible Hermit here. He has a massive worker lead, and SSP is still is trailing a little bit behind, but still ahead of FTQ and Peini. We do see here the bunk from FTQ, so he might be able to clear that quite easily here. Now the Pilgrim is protected, but a lot of punishment onto the bunk here might still lead to him leaking, because he does not have damage now. And with those lizards and cannoneer, it will be enough damage to kill the canopy, and the Pilgrim is not enough healing for it. The Dino Recent here on Peini can do very well, but here the canopy doing very well. And also Bounty Hunter just living barely here. And yes, you get Bonny here with a shutdown, but he leaks while being at 16 workers. That is 5 more than Peini. And so this leak is totally fine for him. And now FTQ is sitting on a lot of Mythium, but it is close to a cover in the middle from Peini. But we do have the Big Sen here on wave 9 against SSP. Going for Fiends here. Not Fiends, Imps. Very good against the nature defense and the fortified defense of SSP. But with the presence of the Lost Chieftain, he should still be able to hold quite easily. Bonny, I do not think he will be able to cover here. Yes, you have an additional Oathbreaker in your split. Yes, you have a Consort, but it's still a Brute going to you, and you only have pierce damage as potable DPS units. We do have the Millennium from SSP. That could save him big time. He is on value. It's all about the time he can afford with this Millennium, and now also all the magic damage from the imps once reaching the Millennium will not be able to leak him. But this is a 120 recent onto Bonny, so it might still result into a leak. And here it is a 280 sen onto SSP, so also a possibility to leak him, but we'll see. The Millennium is doing a lot of work here, attacking the units and not the imps, and so very few units are remaining, and it will result into a hold from SSP, but a small leak from Bonny, giving the shutdown yet again. But SSP will be able to cover that in the middle and also push out of the workers. Bonny also pushing quite a lot here, pushing to 19 workers. And now they will have a big send for the wave they choose to. It is possibly 11. Realizing that okay, so sending wave 10 here, but there will be kingpins on Peini. Does he have correct front line? Oh no, he's going for the Fatalizer. This is a very clutch decision for him, because even if that side dies, that is the side that the boss goes, the Fatalizer will be able to kill all of the small Sen and then go to the boss while still having some of this front line alive. And the Centaur cannot be dealt with. I don't think so by FTQ, but with the Haven, you will still be able to do pretty well in terms of damage to the boss. So let's see how they do. It is pure King Ups here, pure region. With the Fatalizer, it will be a hold on Peini. The Fatalizer still not attacked and attacking the boss right now. Yes, you lose stacks, but you can still go for the Kingpin later on. Good damage here on the boss, as we discussed here, due to the Haven. So savaging against a big send from Bonny, but he is at 10 workers and Bonny's at 22 workers. So it's all a question of how much he can push uh, after that send. So the boss goes to the king, but the king will survive this. And now it's all about the mid game. The kingpin mid game is pretty strong. Bonny looks pretty weak on 13, but SSP should be able to cover with a Doomsday. 13 seems to be very good to send on both Peini and FTQ. FTQ is very strong on 11 and 12. He does go for the GA bunk. Looking at the other spells, probably the best idea that he could go for. I don't really see a Fatalizer, uh, a Pulverizer target. GA on Fatalizer, also on Peini. Could have been a Pulverizer Kingpin in this case. Could have been more value, uh, possibly for wave 13, which is the wave that they will be sent on. Let's see, now seeing that Peini is going for Fatalizer and Berserkers, wave 12 should still be the point of contention for Bonny and SSP. I mean, the worker is insane on Bonny, uh, sending into the 12 workers of FTQ, not looking promising for them. And going pure income will still leak FTQ, I believe. He's just way too far under, and the send will be too massive from Bunny 3 Cannoneers just to focus that Haven. And that is very smart here too, because this Haven is it only DPS, is only pierce damage from FTQ. He does have the Halo for a big tank, but no big tanks are coming, and that's a preparation for 13. We do have the Kingpin though on the side of Peini. What is the addition of SSP here? Giant Snell with DTs. So I do not know if it is enough to leak him, because it's all a question of how soon the Ogre gets targeted, and if it reaches the Kingpin fast or very slow. So the Ogre is now getting targeted. Are there any other mercenaries left? No. The Kingpin is still full HP, so it will be a cover from Peini. FTQ is surprisingly holding here. Wow, underestimating the power of the Haven here. I'm quite sorry for that. But this allows Peini and FTQ to push a bit more, or long save at low workers up to wave 15. I mean, 14 is not a possibility, because there's Trinity Archers and there's Doomsday. Yes, they are Pilgrims, but no arcing defense on SSP. So this means that 15 could be the point where Peini and FTQ decides to go. But Bonny and SSP are still in the worker lead, and so the low worker push of FTQ does not do too much to bother SSP. But let's see, wave 15 is still very strong, and Bonny will have the income lead by quite a large margin. He has the combined income from both Peini and FTQ, just every round. So let's see, does he gain value here? He lost value a little bit, still close to value. So not the end of the world. He needs to prepare 15. We do have preparation for 15 on the side of Peini with the LOD, and more Lost Chieftains on the side of FTQ. Do we have more preparation on the side of SSP and Bonny? We do have another APS here to ensure that Doomsday has insane attack speed, almost 1 attack per second. That is almost a 600 DPS unit here. So that is very, very good for SSP to have this Doomsday's machine. And they do decide to go 15 here, and FTQ and Peini kind of need to go as well, and they do go. So not a lot of frontline on Bonnie, so I don't really agree with the 4-eye send from Peini. Uh, yes, there is the Arc there, but if you go a Shaman, it's way more effective against what he has because there's a lot of small tanks, and then you add some uh, decoy for those boosted Orchid, and also for the split damage of the Trinity. Would still go for the Hermit, but it could have been Hermit, Shaman, and Dino spam or DT spam, things like that. Bunny going for 4-eye, pure income, SSP going for pure income, and then King ups. Uh, so Bunny should be able to leak FTQ here. He does have the Pilgrims, but it's not enough. And Peini not full sending here, going for some King ups at the back. I think this is a mistake because these two King ups could have been 2 Snails or 1 DT. So, and if you long save that much, you kind of want to have a break and get some of this shutdown gold. And now you will see a hold from Bonnie because the sand is not optimal here. The 4-eye has very little value onto the build of Bonnie because there's no big tanks to speak of except of the Arc there. So would have been way better off the Shaman we discussed. We have a leak here from FTQ. And do we have a leak on SSP? No, SSP is holding, so no break has happened here. And so Bonnie and SSP will just shoot up to the sky with those workers, or possibly just decide to not push any and go for 18. We do see the push coming from Bonnie and SSP, and we don't see any push from Peini and FTQ. So Peini and FTQ going for king ups here. Into what wave? They are not pushing workers, so they will fall behind quite a lot, and we do have close to a full push from Bonnie and SSP. So they will try to go for wave 17, and that is a very good choice. We do not see a lot of chances for FTQ to be holding wave 17. We do have the kingpins on Peini. We did have a push here, a late push from FTQ here on this wave, but both of them will be undervalued by quite a large margin on wave 17. And yes, 17 is coming. We do have a continuous push here from Bonnie, trying to win the game through the lane of FTQ, even if Peini decides to hold. We do have the 4-eye to snipe this even down, which is a very effective and one of the best send you can do here. Two of them might be a little bit overkill. Would have much preferred to see a 4-eye pack with Hermit to counter the bark skin of the thorns of the Banana Haven, but 2 4-eyes still very good in the end. And the 2 witches here, I mean, it's very good against the nature defense he has. He will have a hardened golem here, I believe. They need to communicate that FTQ is way too far under here to be able to hold. And yes, we do have the harden from Peini. We did have, again, a push to no send from FTQ. And they are still going for some king ups. They have the full king now. And now they need to do a risky play here. If they survive, they need to go for FTQ full pushing. He's not holding anything against Bonnie. But Bonnie and SSP have so much workers that they can just resend here every single round if they want to, or go for a push on wave 19. FTQ will leak every single round from that point on. We do have a kingpin on a mission from Peini here, killing all the Frogos and just not getting the one it 4-eye. But 15 creeps to king, 2 4-eyes, 50% HP should be the game right here for Bonnie and SSP with the full push on 16 into the big leagues with 17. So let's just confirm if this is enough. The Four Eyes dies on 2-shot, 1-shot here. The king is still attacked by a lot of dragons, and it is indeed game, but very close to a hold, closer than expected. And Bonny and SSP take it. So talk about a worker push here in the early game from Bonny. Very impressive, taking risk here, knowing the power of his composition, accepting leaks, small leaks here. Uh, the true definition of small leaks are fine, exploiting the fact that he's very strong on 7-8 to push aggressively. And the recent here on 8 really saved Bonny quite a lot. He did punish FTQ quite a bit also, so this allowed him to get the extra gold to push those workers and still only leak very small, despite not having the best units here. So I was kind of impressed about how well the build from Bonny is doing. But it looks like the Consort as a tank and the Yuzura in the part where there are fewer units supported by Daphne and Trini Archer is doing a lot better if you have a good delay here, better than I expected. And the hold here from SSP can be associated to the Millennium here, surprise Millennium that you did not expect. But when you see Oathbreaker and Oathbreakers and Chieftain, Last Chieftain, Imps is not the perfect send here. Yes, you think that the best option is Alpha Mill, but then you need to question yourself, is that really the best he can do? The canopy will partially tank, so will not have uh, impact damage, and so if you go for Brute, you counter any possible surprise fortified tanks, and also Brutes are doing way better against the Millennium and reaching it faster as well if you kill the canopy. So of course you don't know about the Millennium, but not a fan of the Imps in the early game, especially if they're not paired with a pack leader. That is my comment. But at this point, SSP holding and Bonny only leaking small here. 19 workers on Bonny, while saving only one round for a Centaur resend on 10. That is just the end from FTQ here because he's not able, with his value, to catch back up on the worker count of Bonny and just sealing the deal here. Uh, at at this worker advantage, it's very hard for Peini and FTQ to come back because even if we have a kingpin from Peini here, he will not ever be able to catch back up onto Bonny's worker. Kind of surprised they went for 12 here, but they were kind of scared themselves, I presume. But no send on 13 because of the Doomsday, and no send on 14 because of the Trinity Archers and the Doomsday. Kind of forced their ends to go on 15, but SSP and Bonny were prepared. They did have the Orchids, did have the Trinity, did have the double MPS, APS Doomsday with Pilgrims as a support. Did allow SSP to do very well here. But one could argue that the Sen uh, from Peini is not the best. Why? Not as effective if you don't have a single big tank. Look at all those Oathbreaker resetting the attack of the uh, 4-eye. So in this case, either Witch or Shaman is way more value in that. Also, going for those King Ups prevents any chance of leaking Bonny here. And after 15, the long save here from Peini and FTQ kind of doomed themselves because now they don't have the value to push the workers. They are forced to build on 16 and try to hold the following send. And Bonny and SSP are just so far ahead. They have the same value with almost Bonny himself only possibly has 2 times the worker of the combined Peini and FTQ. Well, not quite. You would need to be at 72 workers, but still at 60 workers and pushing to 65. That's that's very close to the double the worker count of the enemy team alone. And so too much pressure on FTQ, and that means that Peini is not able to cover, but that's partially due to the mistakes from FTQ in the early game, not protecting the pilgrim. So I would recommend to review the positioning of that pilgrim, because you just lose so much value if you don't get the healing from that pilgrim. So on that, I'm gonna say thank you guys for watching. I hope you like that, and see you next time.